we're going to move ahead to Highline School District. And our host there is School Director Sue Godding. Hello, Sue.
Hi. This is Sue Godding, and this has been very interesting so far. Thank you for coming to this webinar on Highline's P3 Early Learning Program. Highline's had many partnerships with pre-kindergarten providers over the years of various relationships. Guided by 5 now called EduCare is probably one of our biggest partners. One of our schools, White Center Heights, shares a parking lot with EduCare, and they provide PK care as well as after-school and parent education classes. How we found our daycare providers is we ask our parents to fill out a form, and they're asked whether their child was in pre-K and where. And that's how we track them down. This year, Highline is taking, Highline is taking early learning to another level. Our P3 director, Ann Arnold, has been hired, and Highline will take a more active stance in our community to help child care providers understand what they need to do to help their students to transition into our kindergartens. Highline is also bringing a new parent education program into our schools. That's the plan. This is a section of our strategic plan for P3 education. I summarized it on the right. 13 out of 20 students will meet all standards in core subjects. We will implement the Common Core state standards, and I'm optimistic that the Common Core state standards will raise the rigor, critical, and creative thinking of our students. Here's a video of Susan Infield, our superintendent. It's a pretty good summary of what we are thinking in Highline.
What would an ideal education system look like? We know that if we give our kids a strong start, they're going to do better throughout the course of their education. So investing in the education of our 3- and 4-year-olds, giving them all access to a high-quality pre-K setting, so when they get into kindergarten, and ideally full-day kindergarten that's funded by the state, as it should be, that they have a chance at getting where they need to be. Because if we don't invest in those early years and we don't get them where they need to be by 3rd grade, the challenge for them in completing school and being successful becomes that much harder.
Okay, I'm going to talk about their dreams of the future and a little history of the past of early childhood education in Washington and in Highline. We have big dreams for P3, making new partnerships, implementing the Common Core, and looking forward. A little further, I'll talk about how I-728 and all that has affected achievement in the early grades, which was the whole point. Right now, WAKIDS is changing everything. If you're not familiar with WAKIDS, it stands for Washington Kindergarten Inventory of Developing Skills. It is only given to students who are entering all-day kindergarten. Last year, students at 8 of our schools were assessed. This year, we have expanded all-day K to all of our 18 schools. So this is the first year all Highline students will be assessed. The first week or so before kindergarten, students are tested in their first language to find out where they fall in these expectations. Highline's score in literacy actually is a little higher than the state average. I was skeptical about WAKIDS when I first heard it. Now I'm a huge fan. I was skeptical because I thought the information would not be useful or be put to use to better educate our students. Now I really think it's going to be a game changer. Because of WAKIDS, we find out what students know, what students know and don't know. When some of our teachers were asked to assess students, they pushed back and said, we know our students. We don't need to do these interviews. And our P3 director said, well, if you know the students, go ahead and fill out the paperwork. It turned out they did not know the students. They didn't know if they knew the directions. So I think one of the biggest myths is that teachers know their students. We need data so that we know our students. This is on something else that happened in Highline where we thought teachers knew their students when placing them, it's not about P3, but placing them into algebra in middle school, and we went from teacher recommendation to MAP scores. Almost twice as many students went into algebra based on the data. So I think data is, we need data to know where our kids are. What we know is what we assume, and unless we have data. In May of this year, Vanderbilt University published a report teaching students what they know already. The misalignment between kindergarten mathematics instruction, content, and student knowledge. Said that kindergarten teachers report spending much of their time teaching skills the students have already mastered before ever setting foot in a kindergarten class. It recommended closer attention to children's knowledge and skills at school entry, which is exactly what WA Kids does if we use that information, which I'm happy to say WA Kids is doing, Highline is doing. Here are some of the examples of the results of the WA Kids assessment. You can see lots of the kids know directional terms. Can you click? I don't think mine is, it worked the last time when we went through the practice, but my mouse is not clicking. Yeah, here's letters. We need a lot more work on that. Okay, good. Yes, and colors. Almost all the kids knew almost all the colors. Our adaptive math program, ST Math, requires students to click on the gray, and so they hear click on the gray at the beginning a lot. So I'm pretty sure they know they're gray by now. Okay, we could go to the next one. Oh, yeah, every school probably has something like this. A student reaches a learning goal and they put their name up. All of these posters are on the wall in the hall, so teachers and students can see where students are at, even the previous ones. And parents can get a better idea of what to work on with their child at home. This is myth number 2, that parents know what they should be doing to help their child. This kind of information, the specific kind of information parents need to help their child. Okay, can you go to the next one? This is what our kindergarten schedule looks like. It probably looks familiar, open court. It's pretty structured for teachers. This is week 15. The goal is for teachers to be vertically and horizontally aligned. In other words, doing the same thing on the same day at the same time. Sounds structured, but it keeps the class on pace to learn what they need to learn by the end of the year. And it allows teachers to collaborate with a schedule like this because they're all working on the same learning objectives. And teachers have said once they get used to this schedule, they like it because then they don't have to spend their time at home creating lesson plans. You will see in a minute what students are working on, and you'll see the work they are doing is creative and thoughtful. Our students still get a lot of creative writing, as you'll see. Teachers need frameworks in order to teach at high levels. We've always known how important it is for students to learn by 3rd grade. Yet when Highline had a curriculum audit a few years ago, the audit found that teachers were teaching 1.5 to 2 grades below grade level. If students are not taught at grade level, they will not know how to read by 3rd grade, and they will not pass the standardized test because they have not been taught the skills to pass the test. I highly recommend, if your district hasn't had a curriculum audit in memory, that you get one. It's really an eye-opener. And do we hear anything about when students don't meet standards? Do we hear anything about the level of instruction or examination? Our teachers need K-12 frameworks in math, science, social studies, and literacy. Thankfully, the Common Core and Next Generation standards will provide the frameworks in some of these subjects. Here's an example of writing in 1st grade. This teacher looped, and she was a kindergarten teacher. So she started off the year knowing where the students were at. This class is doing times tables up to 10 already, and they have groups like the Africa group, North America group, Asia group, and they're learning about continents. Anyway, I was thrilled to see her lesson. Here's another example of the writing. I love this house. And okay, next one. And I think this is interesting. This school, we have dual language schools. This was not one of our dual language schools. This child arrived, he's a first grader, arrived from Mexico recently, the beginning of this year. Doesn't speak any English. The teacher knows Spanish, so she was able to tell him what the lesson was. And this is his writing. He's writing about playing Legos with his brother. I think it's pretty good. I was with two other educators when I was touring this class, and one asked if the student had been in preschool and kindergarten in Mexico. The teacher said yes, and I could tell by her expression there was more to the story. I hadn't even thought to ask. That's what I mean by we assume what we know. We all do it. When I got home, I Googled kindergarten in Mexico. They have mandatory preschool for 3 to 6-year-olds. They also have universal health care too since 2004. But so our immigrant students know, I think, more than we assume. That's one reason way data can play a part. I've been at meetings where parents from Africa came in and said they moved here to get a better education, and what happened? So anyway, without data, you're just another person with an opinion. Andrea Schleicher developed and wrote the PISA. Okay, I'm going to talk about where we have gone. I started at the graphs at the beginning of I-728 when they passed. So here's Washington Highline data map paces just below the state. So here's Highline, here's Washington, and we go to the next one. And here's the trend line. All that money into small class sizes, a lot of work into pre-K in order to improve, and reading scores are going down. That trend line was going down. There's math, all that passion about the math wars, inquiry versus traditional, basically flat. I think it's about 40 years before we reach 80% if we continue on where we're going on the trajectory. Okay, if you could go to the next one. I put all the graphs in here. Here's reading, last 10, 11 years, and here's the trajectory. About 30 years to reach 80% at this level. And here's our opportunity gap. Highlands is the same, even though we've had kindergarten, all-day kindergarten in our highest poverty schools. What we have done has maintained the status quo. So I'm going to talk about I-728 a little bit. This is what we've done to improve education on a state level, and it's impacted all of us. You can see the whole state. As much as we all do have successes in Highline too. We have a few, years with great math or great this, one school, that school, but overall, it's pretty much steady. Cost of I-728. I bring this up because the next, our parent education program, it costs, well, I'll talk about the cost later, but it's it's not in the ballpark, it's a little bit more, but there's a lot of effort to bring back I-728 smaller class size. I don't even know how we fight smaller class size, but smaller class size, the same kind of efforts. I got this from John Hattie's Visible Learning. He's a New Zealand researcher who looked at over 800 meta-studies and found 138 positive and negative effects in education. He said part of the problem is every effort produces a positive result. So whenever we try to do something, it does improve student achievement. He says just the effect varies. Some has greater effect, some has smaller effect. They should say questions instead. He asks what are the most impactful, and this is it. Acceleration, you can see down here, feedback is teacher to teacher. You can see retention, negative, transferring students to another school is negative. Homework, pretty mediocre. And these are the very popular reforms of the day. This is what we want, 40%. I mean 0.4. And these are all below 0.4. Okay, good. Yeah, and these are the big winners. Acceleration, PBIS, Comprehensive Interventions for Learning Disabled Students. This is one area Highline is also, we hired a new special ed director and having an audit of our program. We have an 80% dropout rate of special ed students. So just turning that around would be a huge improvement. And not labeling students, which is very hard to do for everybody. So only about 30%, 25-30% of Highline students attend preschool. The rest are cared for by a parent or relative. So if we're going to, or you can go to the next one. If we're going to reach the most students, we need to reach their parents and grandkids. So this is what is the future of pre-K in this area, public preschool. Obama is talking about that. Christine Gregoire talked about that. I can remember talking about it in the 70s, or if not public, affordable preschool. I hope we get it for the sake of working parents as much as children. We are creating partnerships with caregivers and providing professional development and inviting them into our classrooms to observe the environment their children will go into, so they can see the academic expectations. And our big plan is to develop the child care, the Kaleidoscope Play and Learn program developed by Child Care Resources, St. Edmunds, Everett, and Shoreline, and maybe some other places. And it's a 90-minute program. The parents are, parent and child come together, so the class could be big, and including the 90 minutes, planning time, supplies, and a snack costs about $100. So for, you know, I don't know how far Highline can go, but I'm just fantasizing. There's about 400,000 0 to 5-year-olds, $4 a piece if there's a 25 student class or class. 20 classes a year, about average 60% participation. That'd be $2 billion a year. I think that's the kind of direction we need to go. But I have a ending on the video of the Kaleidoscope Play and Learn. This principal, she was at the beginning of this video, which is not here, was asked, why did you bring this program in? She said when she had a baby, she attended this program and liked it so much that when she became a principal, she brought it into her school. So.
I think one of the most important things is that it creates a network for other parents they meet people in their community or other caregivers, and so they form that bond with them. Their children have, new friends, and they also learn some things. They get to see things modeled to them on activities that they can do, songs they can sing, games that they can play, and that's really powerful. So they're getting parenting tips. And they also get to feel part of a school. And for young parents and young little ones, it's pretty neat to get to go to a real elementary school and get to feel like you're going to school and you're in a room at the school and with a teacher and feel what it feels like to be out of school. So it opens that door to the schools, really. It's their first impression.
Okay. Didn't go all the way again, but anyway, thank you, and if you have any questions or comments, I'm glad to answer them, and you can email me at that address if you want more information.
So Sue, we do have a question. We have one question for you, and so far, since you started WA Kids and the focus on early childhood education, have you seen some results in terms of your kids going into first grade?
Well, I would say our biggest results are in math. We and I don't think it's a result of kids, but it's a focus on providing an adaptive software program to that age group so they can sort of excel, learn at their own pace and get a foundation that is they use when they get instruction in the classroom using their regular math materials. And we've had some really great success with that.
Oh, that's good to know. That's very interesting. We're going to be moving on, Sue, because we are going to come back around to Central Valley. So thank you so much.